the midst of the old media crisis, more and more people are reading newspapers digitally, and it is a global audience. The New York Times has a brilliant website. It also has apps, as has The Guardian. These two are major, and BBC, of course. These are major platforms on which news is transmitted as they were never done before. The Guardian of the UK has a huge circulation in the United States and in various places. The New York Times is a very major news provider on the digital platform in various modes. But the problem is, I just read that The Guardian is losing something like 40 million pounds. Last year, it's down by 40 million pounds. There's nothing wrong with the journalism they've done. In fact, they've done exceptional work on the phone hacking scandal, in which the Murdoch empire has come under siege, in fact, in the United Kingdom. News of the World was closed down, and serious proceedings are afoot, legally and in Parliament and its committees. So what's the problem? You produce very good journalism, you break exclusive stories, it grips people, people are reading it, people talk about it, journalism schools extol the performance of these newspapers. All of us admire them, we are influenced by them. What's happening? This is why they ask the question, the future of journalism. What's the future of journalism? Because what has happened? All kinds of explanations are offered on this, but it's now pretty clear what the problem is. And yesterday we had a very senior journalist in the United States in our office. I won't mention his name because I have not got his permission, but basically what he told us was, this comment, that advertisers will go away much earlier than readers will. That's the truth. First they thought it was classified ads. Classified ads are getting away. People said readers were getting away. Readers are not getting away from news. In fact, those missing readers, the young readers, are going online. They don't read it in the old way. They don't read the Hindu from top to bottom or whatever, or even the sports pages. They'll go to various sites, but they are reading. How rigorously, etc., is another question. Whether they follow the news as you and I followed it or not is another question, but they are reading. But advertisers, for reasons that the newspaper industry and the broadcast television industry and the news radio stations are still unable to figure out clearly, in my opinion, is advertisers will not come in the old way. Advertising supported newspapers, continues to support newspapers. The environment is hardening. Same thing for broadcast television. But they are not willing to support in the same old way, which makes for viability, not to mention profitability, what is being offered on the digital platforms. All kinds of explanations, rationalizations are provided for it, but this is the writing written on the wall. India, because of certain backward features of our development, is somewhat insulated against these processes, which are global. We see it among young people, including journalists working in our office. They no longer read your newspaper in the old way. Whatever you say, they won't do it. No point in attempting that. Even in journalism schools. Most journalism school students do not read newspapers, printed newspapers in the old way. We know that from the experience of the Asian College of Journalism, with which I'm connected, in Chennai, and Columbia University as well. But they are reading. So what is the answer? India is protected. We have some time. Usually when people ask us, I say 3 to 5 years, but nobody knows. How much time do you have before the decline starts, the difficulties start, the crisis is near at hand? Nobody knows this. All kinds of projections are made, including those absurd projections, in my opinion, 2040. But the other end, the hype on the other side also must be avoided. How many internet users do you have in India? NASSCOM doesn't know. The government of India doesn't know. Nobody here knows how many are there, because India does no surveys, no scientific surveys. We have been writing about it. I've been talking about it. They will not do it. You shall not do any surveys which look at the spread of the internet and all kinds of details that are available in surveys all over the world. China has 2 surveys. Korea has it. Every significant country using the World Wide Web, which is developing an internet sector and developing digital offerings, has it. But for some reason, from the beginning, NASSCOM, which used to talk up the numbers. I'm sure there's also, we tend to do that in various, to keep ourselves in good spirit. Talk up the digital age has arrived in India, but World Internet Stats says 100 million. 100 million is less than 9% in terms of penetration of the population. You can, of course, look at number of subscriptions and then make some guesstimates, but that doesn't give you a figure of more than 100 million at most. A couple of years ago, we had a conversation with Mr. Bill Gates, who came here for his foundation. I think I can mention it briefly. He thought it was closer to 50 million at that time, a couple of years ago, guesstimate, but he didn't think it was 75 million, as some of the literature said. So the first thing is, you cannot meet this challenge unless you have data. You have to have information, and in-depth information. How many people, you just look at the other surveys. They'll tell you how, what age groups use it most, for what purpose. Is it thin use or is it in-depth use? Are they really, do they have access to bandwidth? If it's broadband, what kind of broadband? Minimally defined, or the broadband that is available in the West? What are they doing with it? Are they just chatting? Is it just email, or is it more than that? And on this, you have no information at all. If you look at the Indian Readership Survey, the figure is only a fraction of the 100 million. I don't know how they got those figures, because it can't be 25 million, can it? Because the number of subscriptions is there. So this is a very important thing, in my opinion, that FICCI should lobby, and everyone here connected with the industry and even others should lobby our parliament, our ministers, NASSCOM and so on, to do what should have been done several years ago. If you don't do it, newspapers will continue to be in the dark. Let me just close by giving you some data from the Indian Readership Survey, and then briefly drawing. How many minutes do we have, Mr. Murari? No, I don't want to abuse your hospitality. Yeah, according to the National Readership Survey in 2006, there were an estimated 204 million readers of daily newspapers and an estimated 220 million for all publications in India. Many of them, of course, were very light readers or medium readers. A positive thing that came out of that 2006 survey was the rising profile. It's a very good thing, I think, of rural readers, rural defined according to the census in terms of population, rural or semi-rural. And women were severely underrepresented with this population. So while the profile of the rural reader or the small town to rural reader was rising, nearly 50%, women were severely underrepresented in newspaper readership in this country. And the latest survey by IRS, the second quarter survey, shows further growth in these numbers. The number is now put at nearly 350 million for all publications. Hindi publications, of course, lead the pack. And English is about less than 17%. Now rural readers are actually in a majority, which makes you feel very good that newspapers are reaching people in remote places, in small places. And again, women continue to be underrepresented. The good news is there are something like 280 million people who are classified as those who know how to read or write, who do not read any newspaper. So there is space for growth. 280 million is not a small number. So there is some time, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but it can't be till 2040. How do we cope with it? I think we can avoid the mistakes made with elsewhere. We can get ready to figure out how on earth you're going to what is going to be the business model. It can't be, I think, by pricing content. Although some newspapers have tried it, they get a little bit of the revenue. It's rising as a proportion of their total revenues, but it is supporting a journalism which has shrunk. Smaller newsrooms, many bureaus have closed down. You're relying more on social media, going to Wikipedia and all that, and journalism becomes less rigorous, less of a discipline of verification, less insightful, less reflective, and you are losing something as a result of this shrinking of journalism. There are different views on it, but I think this is happening all over the place. Wherever the digital age has begun to bite, it is at the moment more a challenge than an opportunity. It's a great opportunity eventually, but there's no guarantee that you will find business models for what has passed as journalism so far. This is my honest opinion. It is not a very upbeat opinion. We still have time in India, but unless you figure out a business model, you won't be able to employ journalists of the kind we know. I mean, some of the work in India has been good, some of it has been appalling. That's a different matter. And our press council chairman, for whom I have great respect, Markandeya Katju, has recently come out with a critique. Some people didn't like it, but we welcome it.